At the start of the film, we see a man named John, who used to rob banks. That's why the government named him Public Enemies, means the enemy of the whole world. That's why the police was taking him to jail, and we see some prisoners who had guns in the prison. The policeman who was taking John to the jail was also his companion. As the prisoners see John, they ask the policeman to open the gate while pointing their guns. Actually, all of them were John's accomplices, and the warden has to open the door. One of John's accomplices was furious that he shoots a policeman. The policemen outside also hear the sound of the bullet, and now all of them shoot at them and try to capture them. John and his accomplice reach the car, but one of John's accomplices was shot. John holds his hand and tries to save him, but John's accomplice says, "Leave me, this is my last time." Now John and his accomplices reach another city where a policeman helps them. They all reach a place and meet a lot of people who used to do robberies like them. They were all ready to help John, but John did not want to take help from them. That's why he meets a lady to whom he gives money and buys a lot of guns and cars. Then they go to a huge bank in this city and rob it. They go to the bank and take all of John's accomplices at gunpoint. John tells the manager to take him to the locker and take out the money quickly, but the manager was not ready for all this. John says, "If you don't do this, I'll kill you and will take the money too, but you won't be able to hear how brave you were." Outside, John had an accomplice who was keeping an eye around, and when the police comes, he signals with his foot so that John and his accomplices know inside. That's why they were all about to leave, but John does not come out alone here. John takes the manager and a girl with him so that the police can't catch them. When a policeman comes to John's accomplice, he takes his gun and captures him while attacking him. John sits in the car with the manager and the girl. His accomplices were with him, but the police were still following them. The police do not even shoot them because they did not want an innocent person to die. John and his accomplices now reach the forest and tie the manager and the girl to a tree and leave. On the other side, we see another officer who came to the government to collect his salary. He wanted to make his organization, which used to catch big criminals, a big organization. The government asks him before giving him money if you have a job that is quite famous, but he did not have such job. This means his record was not good. Actually, this officer was from the FBI. That's why he now decides that if he wants money from the government, he will have to catch John and his accomplices, because it was difficult to catch John and his accomplices. No officer has ever been able to catch John. That's why this FBI officer gives this job to the best officer, Melvin. The media is told that they are going to catch John. John's case now had to be solved by Melvin. He gets the first proof of his coat, which he had given to the girl whom he had brought with him from the bank. Now, Melvin's team wanted to find out where did John buy this coat from. From the investigation, they also find out about John's car. Melvin also gets a companion of John, but he does not recognize him that he is John's companion. He leaves from there with his companions. When he was leaving from here, John's companion shoots from behind, attacks them and kills all of Melvin's companions. He becomes sad that he could not catch John's companion. On the other side, we see John, who goes to a hotel and meets a girl there. John liked that girl at first sight and tells her all his truth, that he is a big thief. At first, the girl becomes surprised to hear all his words, but then she agrees to John's words. Now this girl was with John, although John had robbed many banks, but still his hunger was not satiated. He goes to rob another bank with his companions, threatening everyone with his gun. They rob the bank. When the officer finds out about this, who had given John's case to Melvin, he calls Melvin. He says that John has robbed another bank again, and he robs the bank easily, and we are not able to do anything. Melvin says, "As your team is, I will never be able to catch John with them. Do you want me to catch John quickly? Then you will have to give me your good officer, whom I want." But the officer says, "This cannot happen. I can't give you good officers you want." Melvin says, "Okay, if you can't give me good officers, then I can't work with you." Then the officer agrees to Melvin's words, and the best officer is called, to whom Melvin had gone to pick. On the other side, it is shown John was watching the race of horses with that girl whom he met in the hotel. This girl's name was Billy, and he was preparing to rob the bank again with his companions. Here, Billy realizes that John's life is full of dangers. He takes her to the hotel with him, where the hotel police call that John is in the hotel, and the police come and arrest John and his companions. This news spread everywhere that John has been caught. Actually, John was famous when he was taken to the court for the first time. People were standing all over the streets watching John, because no one had seen John till today. Only his name was heard, and everyone wanted to see how John is. How does he look? Because he was famous. When John's lawyer comes to meet him, he says I want to stay in this jail because John was being sent to another jail. That's why he was saying all this, because he wanted to stay here and plan, although he knew it is very difficult for him to get out of jail, but he was sure somewhere that soon he will get out of jail. Now when John is taken to court, his lawyer tells the judge that John is still in the jail and let him stay there, although everyone was against this, but still, the judge listens to John's lawyer and allows John to stay in the same jail. Actually, this was John's plan. John snatched a gun from the warden, and there all his companions wearing police clothes leave in warden's car in front of all the police. As they leave the jail, John calls Billy and says I want to meet you, but Billy says the police know about our relationship, so the police is keeping an eye on me, and now it would be good for both of us not to meet. But John tells her that we will meet soon, and saying this, he hangs up. After this, the police department is shown, who had heard the words of Billy and John. Now they knew that John is going to meet Billy very soon. That's why the police now start keeping an eye on him, because the officer behind John was actually an FBI officer who wanted to make a very big organization, but this was only possible when he caught John, and it was not so easy to catch John. Now the officer meets Melvin and says I give you complete freedom, you have to somehow finish John and his companions, because now he has done a lot of robberies, and he also runs away from the jail again and again. At the same time, we see John, who was in a meeting with his companions in the movie theater. He had included more people in his group so that he could do more robberies. According to the plan of the next day, they robbed the bank, but this time the FBI people came and captured them. In the same way, one of John's companions also dies. This time too, John ran away. John and his companions think that their companion died, but he was alive. He is taken to the hospital. The FBI people and Melvin meet that man and ask where John is. They beat him so much that he has to tell. John was also with his companions at his secret place and was worried because all his money was running out, so he had to steal quickly. John always took care of his companions and gave them an equal share, so all his companions were ready to support him till death. Now the police also knew where John was, and the police along with the FBI attacked the place where John was. John wanted to go with his close companion, but an FBI agent was constantly shooting at them. These bullets also hit his companion, so he does not run and comes back home with his companion. When John's other companions were trying to run away, Melvin follows them. John's companion's car had turned. Melvin shoots at them and all of them died. John was with his injured companion, and his companion says my time is up, you go away from here, and dies saying this. John was completely broken because he had no one in this world except for Billy. Now he tries to meet Billy, and when he meets Billy, he says we will go far from here, you get your stuff. When Billy takes her stuff, but the FBI people come and take her with them. FBI people still do not know that John was waiting for Billy in the car, so they take Billy with them. John also saw them leaving, but John could not help her and was sad. He had tears in his eyes because he lost every person who was closest to his heart. He knew that FBI people would beat Billy a lot, and it happens the same. The FBI beats Billy a lot when they ask her about John. When Melvin knows this, he becomes furious and tells his team that you cannot beat a woman like this. We are shown John, who meets his lawyer, and his lawyer gives him a letter which Billy had written for John, in which it was written, please do not try to meet me, there are a lot of problems in your life, go away from here. John agrees, but one day when John goes to the theater to watch a movie, FBI agents were already waiting for him. A man from the FBI shoots John. John was dead, but while dying he says something in his ear which he does not tell anyone. The next day he goes to meet Billy. Billy already knew that John is dead, and she knew that the man who came to her ended John, so she does not tell her anything. The agent tells that before dying, John told me to tell you something, he said, bye-bye Blackbird. Hearing this, Billy had tears in his eyes. Actually, he used to say all this to Billy with love. Whatever happened with John should have happened with him, because the kind of paths he chose in his life, this is the result of such paths. If he had chosen good paths in his life, it could have been better for him, but he did not do that. Always wrong things lead to wrong results. So in your life, look for the better which is good for you and others as well. Here this story ends.